Hello, I'm the Culture Genie, and I'm going to begin this video with a statement that the Roman emperors were not kings. Now, your response is probably going to be, but surely you must be kidding. Isn't the very definition of being an emperor, being a king or monarch with great power? Followed by the question, why were the Roman emperors then not kings? My answer is this. When we hear the word emperor, we usually envision kings with great power. I would contest this. Not the great power part, but the king part regarding Roman emperors. And in order to explain why, let us journey back in time. We are in the 6th century BC, in the city of Rome. This is the king of Rome, Lucius Tarquinius Superbus. He has a problem. His son, Sextus Tarquinius, has just taken a woman whose name is Lucretia against her will. And this has resulted in her own suicide in front of a large crowd of Romans who are pretty upset about this. And they decide to kick out Lucius Tarquinius Superbus. And afterwards, the Romans swore that they would never have a king, the Latin word rex, to lord over them ever again. And before you ask, yes, rex, it is the same rex as in Tyrannosaurus rex, which is just a tiny lizard king. This is the foundational moment of the Roman Republic, when Rome became the republic that it became famous for. And it is also the moment where Kingship and Monarchy got a reputation of being a tyrannical institution in the culture of the Romans. Let us go forward about 500 years. The long-lasting representative Republic of Rome is now in its final phase. The year is 27 BC, and following a series of conflicts following the death of Gaius Julius Caesar, also known as Caesar, in the year 44. Gaius Octavius has just proclaimed himself emperor, Imperator, and taken the name of Caesar Augustus, esteemed Caesar. Yeah, the title was Imperator, not Rex, and that was the title of all following emperors of the Roman Empire. If an imperator, or as we anglicize it, an emperor, had called himself King Rex, he would have unleashed a storm of controversy that might very well have ended with him disposed. Because it was core of the Roman identity and the Roman mythos that kings are tyrants that are not worthy of ruling a Roman. Kings should here be viewed as hereditary rulership through one legitimate legalized bloodline. This is why Imperator does not equal king. Instead, it equals the one that gives command, not king. So, pretty much military commander. During the first period of the Roman Empire, the so-called Principate, the title Imperator was a title of military or political dictatorship rather than a true monarchy, where a family line is supposed to inherit the throne through legal right. Dictatorship as separate from kingship was known to the Romans back in the days of the Republic, where certain officials could be given emergency powers, such as being endowed with full authority to deal with some specific issue or threat to which he had been assigned. A dictator who received full powers of the state, subordinated to other magistrates, and these included the consuls, who were the highest elected officials, for the specific purpose of either resolving those specific issues or removing those threats. By the way, authority within the Roman state was known as Imperium, from which Imperator derives. So Imperator is the office of authority. And the argument for creating the Imperator office was to increase executive power of the Republic in a time of crisis, in order to ensure security and continued stability. Which, despite all the memes you could do about this, actually was needed after the chaos of the late Republic. The office of Imperator, being in theory just an extended dictatorship, was never officially hereditary by law in theory, even if in practice the empire was no longer a republic after Augustus. It officially was still the Roman Republic, and the Senate still remained to rein in the worst excesses, being a sort of constitutional dictatorship. And even after the Emperor Diocletian and the beginning of the Dominate period, where it in practice became an absolute monarchy, it was never officially a monarchy. Since the Roman Empire was still in a way officially a republic, a clear codified line of succession never developed in Roman history, and this includes the later Byzantine Empire. This has to be remembered when one is trying to analyze the various conflicts for imperial power, even to the last days of the Byzantine Empire. There never was a concept of a bloodline always being the legitimate highest rulers of the Roman Empire. The Roman and even later Byzantine political ideology didn't treat imperial office as private property that automatically belonged to the person with the right blood. In fact, even to the very end, Byzantine emperors had to go through a proclamation, an inauguresis, where the emperor was acclaimed and cheered by all or most of the empire's institutions, and this includes the Senate, the army, naturally, the church, and the people. This was a reference to the fact that the office was supposed to be of the people, not a king, a rex, standing above the people, at least in theory. In practice, well, not really. A darker side to this is that you could easily claim that the current emperor was not legitimate. In a way, you could not in later medieval European kingdoms that were based on clear monarchical lines in the official legal sense. There even existed a Roman and later Byzantine concept of the military taking up arms for the preferred pretender emperor as a kind of republican will of the people, so the idea of the Imperator being a king would be foreign to most Romans. Emperors, during all the periods of the Roman Empire, from the Principate to dominate to the late Byzantine Empire, were still not kings, because any Roman citizen could still take power from a sitting emperor and become the new rightful emperor, as long as the people of Rome, often the army, since they have the power to, change the emperor, recognized them as such. Even the Greek name for the later Byzantine Empire, Basiliaton Romaion, Empire of the Romans. Of the Romans as in several, as in the people, implies that the Roman Empire saw itself still as being a republic in some sense, and not a monarchy in a classical sense. It is important to separate dictatorship and monarchy as two different systems of rulership, and to remember that the past was a very different place. The modern Western view of republics and democracies has made it so that dictatorship has become a catch-all term for all things which are not democratic. The view of these things were very different in the past and among the Romans, as they actually distinguished their system from monarchy, that's kingship, as separate. Seeing how the Roman emperors were not kings and were not considered kings might even be a good lesson in learning the importance of actually distinguishing details and not reducing everything into simple dichotomies, such as everything being democracy or dictatorship, or the broad umbrella term of non-democracy. There exists a lot of fine details which have meanings that can be considered important, and thus it's important to know the associated terms with these meanings, and to know the true meaning in a context, such as the context of being an emperor in a Roman context. It was different from just being a powerful monarch, like the title became in the West after the fall of Rome. Another thing to know that might be important with regard to the title of emperor in the Roman context is that it shows how much of difference it can be between an official idea and how it really was. Many of the emperors that called themselves Imperator were in practice monarchs, since they got to the throne through their bloodline, for inheriting it from their fathers. Unofficially, of course. And this long history of the Roman Empire, of not using the title king, but being in practice no longer a republic, can give an indication of how republics can officially still be republics, and in practice be something else, even if not monarchical kingship officially. Of course, saying that you are something and being something else is not entirely only in the past. But it can be good to know that it's not new either. Dear viewers and listeners, I hope you have enjoyed this video, and that you now understand that the concept of Roman emperor was a bit different from the concept of being a king, at least officially. If you have any questions or opinions about the video's topic, then please post them in the comments. I will try to respond as soon as possible. And if you like this video, don't forget to push the like button, as it helps the algorithm. Please do subscribe, as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities. اشترك بالقناة من فضلكم.